We're following a hearing at City Hall as elected leaders question the police department in Monsey about the deadly mass shooting at Brooklyn Homes. 2 people were killed, 28 others shot as the search for suspects continues.
We know a 17-year-old faces weapons charges stemming from his actions during the block party, but nothing related to the shooting itself.
Now Mayor Brandon Scott is joining the calls for a stronger juvenile crime response at the state level on the heels of this mass shooting.
Fox 45's Maxine Stryker has his response and concerns from top prosecutors across the state who say their hands are tied.
Maryland's top prosecutors are calling for change from the state's General Assembly.
I think without question, over the last several years, the General Assembly has changed a number of the laws that deal with juvenile crime. And I think that's certainly led to some problems.
We reached out to every state's attorney in Maryland with a series of questions, including, do you believe the Maryland General Assembly has made it difficult for your office to hold juveniles accountable? And do you support the Juvenile Justice Reform Act of 2022 and the Child Interrogation Protection Act? Why or why not? Of the 24 states' attorneys, 10 answered our questions, and all of them agreed the General Assembly has made it more difficult to hold juveniles accountable.
They know that, nothing's really going to happen to them if they keep their crime in a certain limit of types of crimes.
What I will tell you is we need to do something fast, quick, in a hurry. Juveniles understand that nothing will happen to them.
Well, that's fine.
Under the Juvenile Justice Reform Act passed last year, those 13 and under are limited to charges for crimes of violence, and a juvenile under 10 cannot be charged. The law also calls for 6 months probation for juveniles who commit adult misdemeanors and 1 year probation for juveniles who commit adult felonies.
That may not be enough time to help them with the things that they need.
If a juvenile has an illegal handgun, the longest that they can be on probation is 6 months. 6 months. What services can we give a kid in 6 months?
Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates and Baltimore County State's Attorney Scott Shellenberger agreeing their hands are tied. Also weighing in Carroll County, State's Attorney Haven Shoemaker telling us he opposed both of those bills, saying in part both the quantity and severity of juvenile crime is escalating, not just in Maryland, but across the country. Juvenile criminal coddling is not the answer. Wycomico County State's Attorney Jamie Dyke says both pieces of legislation inhibit accountability and put our youth at higher risk of being victims of and committing violence. And Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy adding it appears that the emphasis has been on putting more juvenile offenders under the care of DJS, but it hasn't been provided the resources needed, which means juveniles who commit criminal acts are not getting effective services. Baltimore City Mayor Brandon Scott also weighing in today when we asked if he thought the juvenile justice laws on the books needed to change.
You know that I think there's something need to change. I had a bill in Annapolis this year around home monitoring and the notification around home monitoring. No one, a juvenile or adult, should be able to be outside of where they're supposed to be for 48 hours before any notification happens. And if someone breaks that, then they should be able to be detained by law enforcement. But what I am going to do is go back this session and work with our General Assembly, work with our governor to make sure that we are changing anything that needs to be changed, but my focus is going to be on those that I know are allowing crimes to be committed against those juveniles and by them.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Well, several other leaders in Maryland joining the state's attorneys and voicing their complaints about juvenile justice laws across the state. They say the laws leave police and prosecutors' hands tied.
To be honest, I think it's one of the worst pieces of legislation I've ever read, because what it has done is taken the process of holding juveniles accountable away from prosecutors.
Those protections have given way to a protection of some people who have committed very heinous crimes, which, yes, that does hamper what we are doing now.
It's becoming more and more difficult to hold juveniles accountable.
Basically, a lot of things that unfortunately young people find themselves getting involved in, police can no longer take action.
Governor Wes Moore tells Fox 45 News that he doesn't plan to call a special session. A spokesperson for the governor responded to our questions, saying in part, while there are no plans for a special session, the Moore-Miller administration is committed to working with the legislature to explore all possible options to curb the gun violence epidemic that has plagued Maryland for far too long. I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.